This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Haba. We're continuing Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua, and I want to today I want to read Mishna Berura Sif Katan Kuf Ayin Aleph. The Mechaber said that it needs to be tanned lishma if it's possible. Now, in the Baragoyla, he brings that the Rosh requires ibud lishma, and the Rambam does not require ibud lishma. Says Mishna Berura Sif Katan Kuf Ayin Aleph. Heicha de Efsher. Ki harambam sirle deloy boy klal ibud ar habatim. The Rambam holds you don't have to tan the hides at all. The Adarabba, Yoiser Chazaku Kishaloi Nisaved. It's better if it's not tanned. Misham Hachi Kasher Afilu Ar She'enoim Ubed Klal. Therefore, according to the Rambam, it's kasher even if it's not tanned at all. Because Shkein Doi Boy Ibed Lashma. You certainly don't need Ibed Lashma. The Rambam holds that you don't even need it to be tanned at all. You certainly don't need Ibed Lashma. Okay, so there are two levels here. There's not tanning at all and tanning it but not doing it lishma. So the Rambam holds since ibud is not required, it doesn't need ibud, and it certainly doesn't need ibud lishma. Most poskim argue on the Rambam, and they require ibud, and they also required ibud lishma, vegan lishma. So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you need it to be ibud lishma if possible. Upasak Shulchan Aruch deichad efsher by lishma. But if it's not possible to find covering of batim from hide that was me'ubad lishma, mutar lismach al divrei harambam. It is permitted to rely on the opinion of the Rambam, milahisbatel mi mitzvahs tefillin, then from completely losing the opportunity to mekayim the mitzvah of tefillin. You should put the batim that you used in Geniza. The Achronim argue whether at the present time you should make a bracha or not. The Berkei Yosef agrees to the Magen Avram that you could make a bracha. So it's very interesting, because if you were to ask, according to the Mechaber, if you had tefillin that were not me'ubad lishma, could you make a bracha? The answer is absolutely yes. The Mechaber says, sarach sheyeh me'ubad lishma heicha de'efsher. If it's not efsher, then you don't need. Sounds like you can make a bracha. I mean, that would seem from the Mechaber you'd be able to make a bracha. And the Ramah doesn't argue, even though most poskim argue on the Rambam, and they require ibud lishma. So Shulchan Aruch says you should try as best as possible, but if you can't, you can't. Okay, let's start Lamed Ches. Yaseh dalid batim me'or echad l'shel Rosh. You should make 4 compartments from one piece of hide for the Shel Rosh. Bias echad l'shel yad, and 1 bias for the Shel Yad. So we know the Shel Rosh has 4 compartments, and it's made out of 1 piece of hide, and the Shel Yad is 1 compartment. The Shel Yad is 1 compartment. All 4 Parshas are together, and the Shel Rosh, they're separate. So let us see. Okay, so for example, that was yesterday's diagram. Over here, so you make 4 batim from 1 ar for the Shel Rosh, and 1 bias. Oh, sorry, this is the Shel Rosh where you're making 4 batim, and then you sort of stick them together, and then they're going to be ultimately look like 1 bias with 4 compartments. Now, well, I guess let's begin. Let's begin this, and we'll see it again tomorrow. Me'or echad, says the Mishna Berura, v'chatichas or, a piece of hide. Tfurim yachad, that's sewn together. So basically, it's 4 batim, me'or echad. What about a piece of ar that's sewn together? The Magen Avraham says if you sew different pieces of hide together, it's like one ar. You could be makel if it's sewn. Okay, so let's say you sew it together, you could be makel. If they're just glued, machmer sham. The Magen Avraham and the Chassam Seif are machmer. B'chayadam mashma duadim imhem devukos b'devek. Chayadam holds the chayadam is mashma that also if you glue them together, that's also considered like one bias. V'chein mashma ba'arzarua. V'chein espashit ata minhag b'mdinasenu. That is the widespread minhag that if you glue together 4 separate pieces of hide, that's considered like one bias. Nevertheless, it is the chachila proper to make it mamish from one hide. And there are those who are machmer v'soivrim, deloi mahani b'chatichos tfuros yachad. Some are machmer and they hold it's not going to help if you sew it, oy medubakos b'devek, or glue it. V'ayin b'chayadam nakapanim tzrichim sheyu hadalad batim prudos zamizeh v'lo yu medubakim. The Chayyim says that they have to be separate, completely separate, and not cling together. So, according to this diagram, what you were allowed to do is, it sounds like you're allowed to glue them on the bottom, but to glue them on top, the diagram has a glue stick, and it has here, I'll make it a little bigger. Seems like here, this is the Shel Rosh. The Shel Rosh from the Shel Rosh, you're supposed to have 4 separate compartments, but it's supposed to be of one hide. But if, let's say, you made it of 4 hides and then you glued it together, so it sounds like the Chayyim said that's okay to make it like one. But they have to be somewhat separate. In other words, it sounds like they can't be totally glued together on the top. Not clung together. Not like what some Seifrim do, that they glue it together with devek, but on top, what they do is they glue it together, and it's mamish like one piece, and on top, they make lines, ki'ilu, that these are 4 separate compartments. The tzarchin im lahachshar afilu b'diavad. It's a tzarchin whether that's kosher even b'diavad. If through the divuk it's considered one hide, im kein ein lanu ela bayis achas, then it's only one bayis. Inside of it with 4 compartments, the puzzle. You need to have 4 batim. We know the Shel Rosh has to have 4 batim. So what is glue? If we're gonna consider glue 1, then there's only one bias with 4 mechitzas as possible. If it does make 1 r, if the glue is not considered like 1, then you don't have or echad. So glue is really a sort of a double-edged sword. you can't have it both ways. If you want to create or echad through glue, then it's bayis echad. And if you're not going to be making it bayis echad, then it's not or echad. So somehow you need to have one piece of leather with 4 compartments. So how are you going to do that? You can't have glue. Well, I'll use the glue to make it one or, but not to make it one bayis. It seems like the best thing to do is have one piece of leather, but make 4 compartments. The truth is, it's good that those who make it mamish out of one or, tefillin prudois. The compartment should be separate. The shema dibuk chibor. Maybe the dibuk is a chibor. B'china tefillin shel hagra hayu prudois va'ayim beber halacha. Now, our tefillin seem to be very tightly connected. So let's review this tomorrow. We read the basic opinions. You have a chart over here. We'll review this tomorrow with all these opinions that we just learned regarding sewing and glue. Okay, we'll hold it over here. I wish you all a wonderful day. Bracha v'hatzlacha.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.